Perfect. Shayna, you are recording. Let me change it over to your video and we will spotlight you and you're good to go.
All right. Welcome. Yay. Hi, this is my very first Zoom cooking class. So bear with me as I'm not used to doing this, but I'm excited that you guys are here or tuning in later. Today we're going to cover pantry basics. We're going to make a chicken dish together and we're going to make a bean salad together. My name is Shayna, for those of you that don't know. I owned a cooking school for kids for the past 10 years here in Fresno, and now I'm teaching remotely at schools and online. I also host a supper club monthly where we get together, we make meals, family-friendly meals that are intended to take home and freeze and put in the slow cooker. So I'm excited to do a live class for you guys. You gave me a reason to put on some earrings and makeup, but I still have on my slippers, so it's awesome. And my girls are napping behind me, so you know, we've just been embracing the stay-at-home nature of what's been going on lately. So I picked these recipes. The chicken dish first. I often have frozen chicken in my freezer, either thighs or breast. I like to have frozen thighs and I freeze them in groups of maybe 6 or 7 that I will later pop into my Instapot or slow cooker, add in some other ingredients and have dinner ready to go for those busy days that we're on the go or even busy days homeschooling. And I'm happy to share maybe some Instapot recipes or slow cooker recipes if that's something that you're interested in for a future date. We could talk about that later. But I went with a chicken skewer dish so that we can bake it in our oven. You can also do it on your grill outside. You can enjoy the nice sunny weather when the sun pops up and have a backyard barbecue. Cheers to your neighbor over the fence maybe and have a little social distance party over the fence. So for this chicken dish, it calls for 2 breasts. I didn't have any breasts and I haven't gone to the store, so I used thighs and I chopped them into about 1-inch cubes. The important thing to keep in mind when you're cutting up your breasts or your thighs, your chicken, is you want them to all be the same size because we want them to cook all the same way. We don't want little tiny baby guys to burn while the big guys aren't cooked yet. So something to think about when you are chopping up your chicken. I also pre-soaked my skewers earlier today so that I can put them on my grill outside and not start a fire. Something else you want to think about as well. So we have our chicken. I picked some lemons from my tree. I'm going to use the juice from 1 lemon and the other lemon, we're going to slice it in half and slice it again and then create little slices that are going to go on the skewer, just like so. The recipe also calls for green onions, and I don't have green onions. Last I went to the store was about a week and a half ago, and there was no produce left, but I happened to grow chives in my backyard, so I went ahead and picked some chives and chopped that up, and I replaced the green onion with zucchini. So we still have a little bit of the flavor of the onion, and then I have the color for my skewer with zucchini that I have cut in half and sliced as well. So for the marinade, you're gonna wanna go ahead and chop up your chicken. Didn't want you guys watching me chop chicken, so I did that earlier during mom school. So go ahead and put that in a glass bowl. You're going to add in about 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and then a tablespoon of dried oregano. And if you like using fresh herbs instead, go for it, pick those out of your garden. You'll probably only need about a teaspoon of fresh. When you're using dried herbs, you need more because the flavor is not as powerful as when they are fresh. Then we're also gonna use about a teaspoon of salt. And when I season, I usually just take it out of my salt cellar and put it on. The mistake that people often make with chicken is not salting it enough. I know we wanna be healthy, we wanna reduce our salt intake. Uh-oh. I just got a sign that my internet connection is unstable. Can you still hear me? Yes, are we good? Brittany, are we good?
Yes.
Okay.
I can hear you. You cut out for just a second, but I think we're okay.
Okay, perfect. It looks normal now. Okay, just wanted to make sure. So when picking what salt to use, I always suggest kosher salt or sea salt. You know, iodized table salt doesn't really have any beneficial qualities for our health. So go ahead and stay with the sea salt and the kosher salt, not the processed factory made science experiment salt. And again, going back to chicken, so we often under season our chicken, and the salt creates a nice barrier that helps keep the moisture in. Same applies for when you make steaks, fish. You just want to make sure to give it a nice layer of salt. Let's see, what else are we going to add in here? We are going to juice some of our lemon. I cut this in half, and we'll just squeeze the whole lemon juice right onto our chicken. And if you like garlic, go ahead and add in some garlic here as well. The great thing about this recipe is you can really, add things, make it your own, have fun with it. So we'll mix that all in, and you could let this marinate in your fridge overnight. You could also just do it for a couple hours. You do it in the morning and then have it ready to go make skewers with in the afternoon. Sometimes in the morning, I'll do it right into a Ziploc bag, and then I'll be able to put it in my fridge easier. But since we don't have the editing of TV, I'm gonna go ahead and make the skewers for you now. So on each skewer, we're gonna take one of our chickens, we'll put that on. And then usually, like I said, I would do a green onion. Today I'm gonna do the zucchini. We'll do a wedge of the lemon, and we'll repeat. And we'll just keep going. And this is also something that you could make, let's say, the night before, and then have it ready to go to make, to cook for dinner the next night. Like if it's on a Sunday and you have some extra time on your hands, you can go ahead and make these and then pop them in the oven or on the grill. So I like to do 3 chickens, zucchini, lemon, chicken, zucchini, lemon, the pattern. Many of you might know I'm a big proponent of cooking with kiddos. And so this is a great activity for kids to help out with. Of course, you need to worry about the cross-contamination of the chicken and making sure that they don't put their hands in their mouth, which we're all very aware of right now anyway. So if it is a kiddo that you think would be able to handle it, you can have them help and make patterns. I have my 4- and 7-year-old in the kitchen helping me all the time. When I do have kids in the kitchen, I make a big deal about poking the chicken and pulling it up. That way, or poking whatever ingredient and pulling it up. That way they don't accidentally poke their fingers. So that's just a little tip for if you do think you want to have your family come in and help you. It's a great activity that they can help with. I also, when my 4-year-old was younger, I would have her chop the lettuce for a salad while my older daughter and I worked on something like this. So just another idea to help you out as well. And then you might have to move them. It's kind of ideal to keep the placement all the same. So that way when you do put them in the oven, they can cook evenly, or if you decide to put them on the grill as well. So that is our chicken dish for today. When I got out these ingredients, it kind of reminded me about making homemade salad dressings. And that's something that I'm a very big proponent for doing, because you can control exactly what goes into the salad dressing. As well as, right now, if salad dressings aren't readily available, you can still do it. So for salad dressings, your oil, some sort of acid, like a vinegar or a lemon, your aromatics, so your oregano, your salt and pepper, which, did I put pepper on here? I need to add the pepper. And then for salad dressings, you want something that will bind it together. So a cream would do that. Like a Dijon would do that as well. So we could do a whole class on salads and salad dressings later, but I just wanted to point that out. Are there any questions on the chicken so far? And I could see the chat, so if anybody wants to.
Yeah, so anyone who would like to ask a question is more than welcome to either, unmute yourself and ask it, or if you want to ask it over the group chat, you can do that as well. We're happy, in between while she continues to do the chicken, to answer questions. Does anyone have any questions?
I do.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry if you mentioned that and I missed it. So for how long should the chicken be in the oven?
Yes, good question. I just realized I didn't tell you guys that. So preheat your oven to 375. Once it's heated, you'll put these in the oven for about 25 minutes or until the chicken's cooked all the way through. The internal temperature that you want your chicken to be is 165.
Thank you. And should we have like a olive oil or something, or no, or is not necessary?
Yes, yes, yes. So in the marinade, I put olive oil in here already with the salt and the pepper and the oregano. On the baking sheet itself, I did not add any more olive oil.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you.
I might add a little bit more salt and pepper before I put these in the oven though.
Thank you.
No problem.
And then Shayna, do you cook directly on the pan or do you cook on parchment paper? I saw that you had it looked like a Silpat on there.
Good question. Yeah, I always line my baking sheets. I do like using the Silpat silicone mats because I can wash them and it's more environmentally friendly. But I also have parchment paper as well. So parchment paper does a good job here as well for lining your baking sheets.
Helps make it a little bit easier to clean up afterwards.
I'm all about easy cleaning. Yes, exactly. All right. Any other questions? Okay. When I slice my lemons and even my zucchini, I put them into little bowls. I make sure to put the amount that I need because once I have my chicken hands and I'm touching inside the lemon and the chicken, we're not going to save that to use to garnish our water with, so just make sure, you're practicing safety there. Okay. Any other questions? This is the quietest class I've ever taught.
Well, it is the first time that we are doing this virtually. So it's new to everyone in terms of what we do, because usually we're at the lovely clubhouse and hopefully we'll be able to be back there again soon.
Yes, yes, I would love that.
I have another question.
Yes, ma'am.
So instead of zucchini, what other vegetable could we use? Like, would you say that onions would be good or no? What do you think?
I would use a red onion and cut it into wedges, and you can put it between, like I said, I usually just do green onions, and in the recipe pack it'll have the picture with the green onions. It makes for a really beautiful presentation. Again, I just wanted to have that green here because we eat with our eyes first. So if it looks visually appealing, there's lots of different colors, then, we're gonna be more inclined to want to eat it. But yes, a red onion would be beautiful. You could go bell pepper. This tends to have more of the Mediterranean feel. So zucchinis, onions, that kind of thing is more what I was leaning towards. But certainly if you wanted to do a bell pepper, you could do that as well, or any sort of pepper as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right, I'm on my last chicken. I'm used to the, value of TV where it edits it and it's all done. I can pull it straight out of the oven and here it is. But we won't have that today, but you guys can kind of get the feel. And again, the pictures that are posted will be of the finished product. And I did go back and I added a zucchini to the top of all of them. So it starts with the zucchini, as you can see. All right, so I have 2, 4, 6, 7 skewers. I could probably make 8 skewers. And I actually started out with 5 thighs here, which would probably be the equivalent to 2 big breasts that you could get from the store. All right, I'm just gonna move everything over for our bean dish and we'll get to doing that. The bean dish that we're making today is actually my husband's specialty. We took a trip to Costa Rica about 7 or 8 years ago, and this recipe, there was a dish there that we fell in love with and we've recreated it. But he is the pro at making it and I let him do it because I usually cook everything else in the house. But and I'm here to share them with you. Let me wash my hands real fast just to get off the chicken juice. Okay. All right. So for our bean dish, let me just scoot it all this way. We went with pantry basics, and I know a lot of people have stocked up on beans. It's shelf stable, something we can keep in our house, you know, for long periods of time while we're all sheltering in. So I wanted a recipe that, you know, would utilize beans and still taste good. This dish is one of my favorites for backyard barbecues. It's great for taking. So if you're fantasizing about getting together with friends sometime in the spring or summer when the warmer heats up, when the weather heats up, this would be a great dish that you can make and take instead of picking up, you know, I don't know, a pre-made cake at the grocery store. So I'm excited to share it with you. So for the recipe, you'll need 1 can of kidney beans, and mine are in a jar right now because I already opened them earlier last night. You'll need 1 can of black beans, and then a can of either the big butter beans, which I couldn't find, or these are just white northern beans, so like white kidney beans, if you can see those. And the first thing you're going to do is strain them. And again, my husband's secret recipe that I'm sharing with you guys, the order is what's important here. So he says it's very important to drain all of the beans first and rinse them in hot water. And he rinses them for several minutes. I make him collect the water and water our plants with it because I get kind of angry about it. But he claims that that's what makes them nice and soft and tender and delicious to eat. So I'm just gonna drain them and rinse them real fast. It's probably pretty loud. We'll pretend like I'm doing this for several minutes at a time. Just don't tell him. And he's not on Facebook, so he'll never know. All right, we'll strain out as much water as we can. And then we're gonna go ahead and put these in. All right. So as you can see, we have our beans in there all mixed together. The next thing we would add is a can of corn as well. I didn't have any corn, but I had frozen corn. This roasted corn that you can get at Trader Joe's is delicious. It has a great flavor and you don't have to spend the time roasting it yourself. So I typically buy a couple bags and then I'll break them into smaller bags and put them back in the freezer. Or you can just leave them in the bags, but I add them to soups and I add them to these kind of things. So I like to partition them. So I'm not, I don't know, opening it and that kind of thing. But so instead of using a can of corn, I've defrosted some of my frozen corn. And we're gonna go ahead and stir that up. Mix all that together. And when Fresno State corn is available, you can always roast that and then freeze that for later. All right. Perfect. Now we're gonna season it. Use about 1/4 a cup of extra virgin olive oil here. And I usually just eye everything, which makes it really hard to convert to recipes and share on my website, but I always go back to do that. Speaking of my website, I do post a lot of recipes on chefshayna.com. Most recently, I posted a sourdough bread recipe, a lemon zucchini bread that you can make with the produce that's available right now in season. So you might want to check that out for other recipe ideas as well. And I'm always sharing them to Instagram as well. All right, we're gonna add in a little bit of garlic salt, a little bit of salt and pepper, and pepper. There we are, I won't forget the pepper this time. All right, and stir that up. And after the beans have all been mixed together and stirred and re-stirred, then we're gonna add in our cherry tomatoes. My cherry tomato supply is very limited. My daughter eats them like they're candy and snuck into the fridge and got some. So I would usually use a whole pint of cherry tomatoes, but we are conserving and we are, I will slice those in half.
I was gonna say, give it just a second because you cut out again. So you use a whole pint and as opposed to what you're using. Okay.
Correct. A whole pint or half a pint. But as you can see, I only have a few. I did just plant a bunch of cherry tomatoes, and so hopefully I'll never run out of cherry tomatoes again. Again, I mentioned cooking with kids. If you would like to get them involved in cutting, I always talk about knife skills. This is just a little simple utility knife. We obviously have our big chef knife as well. Like to go over knife safety in cutting. We always hold it by the handle, but we actually want to grip up on the blade. So my thumb is on one side of the blade, my forefinger is on the other. And then when I'm working with kids, I always talk about making a claw grip, and now your knuckles are the guide to chop versus your little fingers being left exposed to possibly be cut. Obviously with something like a tomato, you don't need to use a big sharp chef knife, but it's always good to go over it. The other thing you always want to think about with your knives is it's a good idea to get in the habit of sharpening them before every use. A dull knife is your worst enemy. You have to press harder, and therefore you're more likely to cut yourself. So just a little bit of basics. I'm sure you guys all are pros at cutting, but just wanted to go over that as well with you today. When you are cutting, of course, you hold something and chop it down. When we do something like cherry tomatoes, we'll do a bridge grip. So we'll hold it, we'll put the knife through, and then we'll slice it down like such. So we'll cut it in half. And again, great activity for kids to help with if you want to use a small steak knife. That's what my 4-year-old uses to cut, or a chef knife as well. Any questions about knives before I move on? While you have me available, or any questions at all?
It's a quiet class today, it looks like.
They're taking notes. You're taking feverish notes. Okay, so we have our cherry tomatoes. The reason we don't want to mix those in the beginning is we just don't want to crush them and make them bruised and not as nice and fresh. And then our avocado. So go ahead with the avocado. I would slice it in half, which I already did, and then open it up. You have the beautiful pit, knock it, twist it, and then use a napkin to pull off that avocado pit. There we are. And then we just want to dice the avocado down. And there we have it. We'll cut it the other way. And then we'll scoop it all out. And I've actually made this before and used it as a dip as well, where you serve it with chips, which is a fun way of doing it, but I often just serve it as a side salad. So we'll put those avocados in. I'm kind of mashing it a little bit, but that's okay. Kind of adds to the dressing. Stir those around. Use 1 or 2 avocados. We typically use 2, but again, I'm conserving, so today I'm using 1. We'll slice it the other way. Keep it out. We'll pour it in. After you get that all mixed together, you're gonna season it with some balsamic. I love the balsamic glaze from Trader Joe's. You, of course, can make your own balsamic glaze by reducing down balsamic vinegar. I usually just don't have the time to do that because you have to stand over the stove and watch it and you inhale the fumes. And so I typically have a bunch of balsamic glaze. I usually have some at work and in my car and in my pantry because it makes a beautiful drizzle on the top to finish off dishes. It's about $2.99 at Trader Joe's, so maybe something you want to check out when you can head to the store again. And if you don't have a glaze, it's okay. You could just use a balsamic vinegar as well here. Enzo's Table makes a really nice balsamic vinegar that's almost thick enough that's like a glaze. So I'll go ahead and drizzle that on. My recommendation when cooking is always to taste through each step in the process. That way you can season. So if you want to add more salt, more pepper, just always know. All right, so we have that all mixed up. And it's a nice vegan, vegetarian dish too, if that's something you're concerned about. If you aren't, you could always add in some cheese. You could slice up salami and add that in. You could even cook chicken or grilled chicken and add that in as well. So there you have it, a nice bean dish ready to go. I suggest chilling it in the fridge for about an hour before serving it. So if you are gonna make it for dinner, put it in the fridge, or if you're taking it somewhere, make it and then chill it in the fridge. If you know that you're not gonna have time to make it and then chill it, go ahead and put your cans in the fridge before you make it, and then you can pull those out of the fridge, put it all together and go. It's the same as it being chilled. So just a tip there. All right, any other questions?
Yes. Would you recommend adding any herbs like maybe basil or chives, or I forgot the name of the other one, parsley, or no?
You certainly can. For this one, I usually just do a garlic powder, but I'm a big proponent of using fresh herbs. So if you want to go ahead and add herbs, definitely make it your own, customize it. I maybe would add in a little bit of oregano and basil, knowing what I made, the chicken dish I made to go with it. If I was maybe gonna lean more towards like a Mexican night, I would maybe add in some cumin and chili powder, spices rather than herbs, to give it a little bit more of that flair and fusion instead.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? Are we good? Maybe, yeah. Brittany, are you talking?
I didn't realize I'd muted it because I had a thing going by. Lovely fire truck. Before we all get going, I want to send out a few polls that you guys can participate in. I was trying to help someone also. Let's see. So let me go ahead and pull up our first one. And I'm going to launch the poll. It should auto pop up onto your guys' screen. You guys can select more than one option. We'd love to hear your votes. I just put in some future class ideas for Chef Shayna, including, she mentioned at the beginning that she just did a great bread making class with sourdough. So, possibly a bread making, Instapot slow cooker, dinners under $30, more pantry basics, which also beginning cooking classes are great. I have to say, I grew up with a father who was a professional chef, and I can say I've never roasted a chicken myself, which every time I say that, he looks at me terribly. Sheet pan dinners and things like that are all really easy. So some basics, because I feel like sometimes you hone in on one recipe and then don't always go back to the basics, which can be really good, and we get so busy. I'll leave it going for just a couple more minutes, or a minute more. So you've got a couple. I don't know if anyone else wants to vote. Okay, looks like, as I'm watching you guys, it's kind of cool. I get to watch you guys vote live, and you're all anonymous, so no one has to know. It looks like bread making and Instapot slow cooker class was your top, Shayna, and sheet pan dinners. Those were your top three. I'm going to end the poll currently. There we go. And then I'm going to hit up one more for you guys. And this is anonymous, so feel free to answer it however you'd like. We just want to know how you enjoyed today's session. Shayna does a great job when she does classes at the clubhouse, and we've had great response. But I'm doing it for the feedback of how you enjoyed the virtual session with us having to shelter in place and not being able to meet in person. We're just trying to see if this is something we want to continue to do and continue to offer. So how much you liked it, did it help? Would you not want to take this again? Mainly because we know we can't meet in person, but we want to give you guys some things that you can do while you're at home. And so we want to make it as enjoyable as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and launch that now. And I'll give you a couple minutes. And then if you guys have any other questions, that, you know, don't get answered, you can shoot me an email, and I can always reach out to Chef Shayna and ask her. After this class is over, we will stop the recording. I'll go ahead and this evening load it up onto the website and email it all out to you. Included in that email will be the recipes that Chef Shayna provided with a photo of each of both the salad and the chicken, so you guys can kind of see what it looks like. And then the recording link, so you guys can go back and view everything. And then I'll also include the link to her website, so that way you can go on and look at all of her other wonderful, lovely recipes that she has to offer. Does anyone have any final questions? It looks like you guys are all done. I won't post the results from this poll. Shayna, yes?
I have a question. So I was wondering, would it be more helpful to have a list of the ingredients before the class starts and then we cook together? Or do you like us watching it?
That would be great.
Okay.
You can do that. Yeah, that is easy enough to do. Mm-hmm. Anybody else have any suggestions? Because this is, you know, we put this together fairly quickly, you know, and we're not sure yet how much longer shelter in place will continue, but we want to make it as enjoyable and interactive as possible. So if you have anything else, we would love to have you. You can always shoot me your suggestions, and if we can get it added to the calendar, we'd love to do that. But I love the idea of sending out an ingredients list first. That's really easy to, between Shayna and I usually coordinate a couple days in advance anyway, so we can get that sent out when the email goes out. Hopefully everyone can find chicken.
And we could also do pizza, homemade pizza dough, and make a pizza is another idea.
Perfect. Does anybody else have any final thoughts or questions before I log us out and stop the recording?
I want to thank you. Thank you. I really enjoy your class.
Oh, good. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Well, I will say, Miranda mentioned, I don't know if she's still on the call, but she did mention, Shayna, in case you can't see the group chat, she said, thank you so much. It was great and a nice break from work. So hopefully you guys were all able to take, if you're working from home, a short break. And we will go ahead. I'm going to end this call or in the class and the recording. And then I will go ahead and get everything out to you guys this evening. And then it'll get posted to the website and out to the community in next week's email. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, ladies. It was great.
Thanks.